Good morning, everyone, and welcome to reading class. We are going to be reading The One and Only Ivan today, and let's go over our questions for today. So we have our vocabulary study. We have disarray, and disarray is untidy and disorganized. Publicity are people, here we go. Information that goes out to get someone or something's attention. That's publicity. Distinguished would be respectable, showing importance. Protesters. Those are people who publicly show their disapproval. I got the public and the public there confused. So publicity would be information that goes out to someone to get attention. Protesters are people who publicly show their disapproval. Teeming, when something is teeming, it is full of or covered with something. And then luscious would be juicy and delicious. Go down to our questions. Okay, so here are our questions. So what is the word Ivan spells with his pile of paintings? And then how does Ivan get Julia's attention when she goes to leave in angry? Okay, so let's get started our reading. I'm going to come right over here, and our first chapter we're going to read is called Nights. I close my eyes, I dip my fingers into the paint. When I'm done with one piece of paper, I set it aside to dry. It's so small, just one sheet, and I'm going to need so many. I move on to the next and the next and the next. It's a giant puzzle, and I'm making the pieces one by one. By morning, my floor is covered with paintings. I hide the paintings under my pool of dirty water before Matt can see them. I don't want them to end up in the gift store selling for $20 a piece, $25 with a frame. These paintings are for Ruby, every one of them. Project. Ivan, Ruby asks one morning when I am trying to nap, why are you always so sleepy during the day? Well, I've been working on a project at night, I tell her. What's a project? It's a thing, a painting. It's a painting for you, actually, I answer. Ruby looks pleased. Can I see it? Not yet. Ruby pokes with annoyance at the roped foot. She takes a breath. Ivan, do I have to do the shows with Mac today? I'm afraid so. I'm sorry, Ruby. Ruby dips her trunk into the water bucket. That's okay, she says. I already knew the answer. Not right. It's night again and everyone's asleep. I look for the picture I've just made, one of dozens. It's smudged and torn, a muddy blur. I place it beside the others lining my floor. The colors are wrong, the shapes are off. It looks like nothing. It's not what I'm trying to create. It's not what it's meant to be. It's not right, and I don't know why. Across the parking lot, the billboard beckons, as it always does. Come to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home to the one and only Ivan, mighty Silverback. If I could use human words to say what I need to say, this would all be so easy. Instead, I have my pots of paint and my ragged pages. I sigh, my fingertips glow like jungle flowers, and I try again. Going nowhere. I watch Ruby plod around the ring in endless circles, going nowhere. More visitors have been coming, but not many. Max says Ruby's not picking up the slack after all. He says he's cutting back on our food. He says he's turning off the heat at night to save money. Ruby looks thinner to me, more wrinkled than Stella ever was. Do you think Ruby's eating enough? I ask Bob. I don't know. I tell you one thing, though. You're sure as heck painting enough. Bob wrinkles his nose. That stench is unbelievable. Ah, and I found yellow paint in my tail this morning. Bob isn't happy about my night painting. He says it's unnatural. Now, while I work at my art, Bob sleeps on No Tag. He claims he prefers her because she doesn't snore. He says her belly doesn't rise and fall and make him seasick. What is the plan of yours anyways? Bob asks. If you explained it to me, I could help out. He gnaws at his tail. Maybe I could come up with something that doesn't involve, paint. I can't explain it, I tell him. It's an idea in my head, but I can't get it right. And anyway, I'm almost out of supplies. I should have known I wouldn't have enough. Kicking at my tire swing. It's splattered with drops of blue paint. It's a stupid idea. Oh, I doubt that, Bob says. Smelly, yes. Stupid, never. Bob is such a supportive friend. Bad guys. Most of the day I doze. Late in the afternoon, Mac approaches. Bob slips under no tag. He prefers to keep a low profile around Mac. Mac's gaze falls to my pool. A corner of one of my paintings is visible. What's that, big guy? He asks. I calmly eat an orange, ignoring him, but my heart is racing. Mac kicks at my plastic pool. Underneath it are all of the paintings. Mac yanks on a piece of paper. It slips out easily, and he doesn't seem to notice the others. The page is striped with green, which is what happens when blue paint and yellow paint get together. It's supposed to be a patch of grass. Not bad. Where'd you get the paint anyway? George's kid? He considers. I'll bet I can get 30 for this, maybe even 40. Mac turns on my TV. It's a Western. There's a human with a big hat and a small gun. He has a shiny star painted on his chest. That means he is the sheriff, and he will be getting rid of all the bad guys. If this sells quick, I'm going to get you some more of that paint, buddy, Mac says. He walks away with my painting, Ruby's painting, for a moment. I imagine what it would feel like to be the sheriff. Ad. Good news, huh? Bob says when Mac's out of earshot. Looks like you might be getting some more supplies. I don't want to paint for Mac, I say. I'm painting for Ruby. Well, you can do both, Bob says. You're an artist, after all. While I watch the movie, I try to come up with some new hiding places for my paintings. Maybe I think I could fold them once they're dry and stuff them into knot tag. It's a long movie, and at the end, the sheriff marries the woman who owns the saloon, which is a watering hole for humans, but not horses. It's been a long time since I've seen a Western that was also a romance. I like that movie, I said to Bob. Too many horses, not enough dogs, he comments. An ad comes on. I don't understand ads. They're not like Westerns where you know who the bad guy is supposed to be. And they're hardly ever romantic unless the man and the woman are brushing their teeth before they face lick. I watch an ad for underarm deodorant. How do you know who's who if they don't smell? I ask Bob. Humans reek, Bob replies. They don't just notice because they have incompetent noses. Another ad comes on. I see children and their parents buying tickets, just like the tickets Mac sells. They laugh, enjoying their ice cream cones as they walk down a path. They pause to watch two sleepy-eyed cats, huge and striped, dozing in long grass. Tigers, I know, because I saw them on a nature show once. Words flash on the screen, accompanied by a drawing of a red giraffe. The giraffe vanishes, and I see a human family staring at another kind of family. Elephants, old and young. They're surrounded by rocks and trees and grass and room to wander. It's a wild cage, a zoo. I see where it begins and where it ends, and the walls that says that you are this and that we are that, and that is how it is, will always be. It's not a perfect place. Even in just a few fleeting seconds on my TV screen, I can see that. A perfect place would not need walls, but it's the place I need. I gaze at the elephants and then I look over at Ruby, small and alone. Before the ad ends, I try to remember every last detail. Rocks, trees, tails, trunks. I need the picture. It's the picture I need to paint. Imagining. It's different now when I paint. I'm not painting what I see in front of me, a banana, an apple. I'm painting what I see in my head, things that don't exist, at least not yet. No tag. I pull out no tag stuffing. Carefully, I fill her with my paintings. hiding them so Mac won't sell them. She's large, bigger than Bob, but I still have to crumple a few of them. Bob tries to settle on her for a nap. You've killed her, he complains. I had to, I say. I miss your stomach, Bob admits. It's so spacious. When Julie arrives, she notices that I've used up my paints and paper. Wow, Julia shakes her head. You are one serious artist, Ivan. One more thing. My finger painting has sold for $40 with frame. Mac is happy. He brings me a huge pile of paper and big buckets of paint. Get to work, he says. I paint for Mac during the day and for Ruby at night. I nap when I can. Oh, there's little Ruby. Oh, sorry, I passed up Ivan. There's Ivan working on his artwork. You can see how intense he is. But my nighttime picture isn't quite right. It's big, that's for sure. When I place all the pieces on the floor of my cage side by side, the cement is almost completely covered. But something is still missing. Bob says I'm crazy. There's Ruby, I say, pointing with his nose. He says, pointing with his nose. There's the zoo. There's the other elephants. What's wrong with it? It needs one more thing, I say. Bob groans. You're being a temperamental artist. What could be missing? I stare at the huge expanse of colors and shapes. I don't know how to explain to Bob that it isn't done yet. I'll just have to wait, I say at last. Something will come to me, and then I'll know my painting is finally ready. Ruby is so adorable. The 7 o'clock show. During the last show of the day, Ruby seems tired. When she stumbles, Mac reaches for his claw stick. I tense, waiting her to strike back. Ruby doesn't even flinch. She just keeps plodding along, and after a while, Snickers jumps onto her back. 12. I lie in my cage with Bob on my stomach. We are watching Julia do her homework. She doesn't seem to be enjoying it. I can tell something because she is sighing more than usual. Again, for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I wonder what is missing from my painting. And for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I don't have any answer. Dad, Julia says as George passes by with a mop, can I ask you a question? May I? George corrects. Asks away. Julia glances down at the paper. What's the difference between the word spelled principal and the one spelled principal? The first one is the head of a school, like Miss Garcia. The second one is a belief that helps you know what's right and wrong. He smiles. For example, it's against my principles to do my daughter's homework for her. Julia groans. If I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, why do I need to know how to spell? With a laugh, George heads off. Poor Julia, I think. Gorillas get by just fine without learning how to spell. All those endless words, those sticks and circles and zigzags, filling up books and magazines, billboards and candy wrappers. Words. Humans love their words. I leap up. Bob goes flying straight into my pool. A word! You know how I feel about wet feet, Bob yells, and he scrambles out of the water, shaking each foot in dismay. I look out my window at the big top. I can still hear Mac's voice in my head. Come to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan, Mighty Silverback. I count to 12, and then I count again, just to be sure. H. I lay out 16 pieces of poster board, 4 down, 4 across, a perfect square. What are you up to, Bob demands. I'm guessing it doesn't involve sleep. It has to do with the billboard. The sign's a monstrosity, particularly since I'm not featured. I grab my bucket of red paint. You're not on the billboard because you're not in the show, I pointed out. Technically, I don't even live here, Bob says with a sniff. I am homeless by choice. I know, I'm just saying. I study the billboard. Then I make 2 fat lines like broom handles. Another fat line connects them. I stand back. What do you think? What is it? No, wait, let me guess. A ladder. Not a ladder, I say. A letter. At least I think that's what they're called. I have to make 3 more. Bob cuddles up next to No Tag. Why? He asks Tony. Well, because then I'll have a word. It's a very important word. I dip my finger to the page. What word? Bob asks. Home. Bob closes his eyes. That's not so important, he says quietly. Nervous. All day long, I knuckle walk circles around my cage. I'm so nervous I can't nap. I can't even eat. Well, not very much anyway. I'm ready to show Julia what I've made. It has to be Julia. She's an artist. Surely she'll truly look at my paintings. She won't notice the smudges and tears. She won't care if the pieces don't quite fit together. She'll see past all of that. Surely Julia will see what I've imagined. I watch Ruby trudge sullenly through the 4 o'clock show, and I wonder what will happen if I fail. What if I can't make Julia understand? But of course, I know the answer. Nothing. Nothing will happen. Ruby will remain the main attraction at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, conveniently located off of I-95, with shows at 2, 4, and 7, 365 days a year, year after year after year. Showing Julia. All right, so this is when he gets to show Julia the artwork, hopefully. It's time to show my work. The mall is silent except for Thelma the macaw, who's practicing a new phrase. Uh-oh! Julia is finishing her homework. George is sweeping outside. Mac has gone home for the night. I grab Not Tag and carefully pull out the folded pages. So many paintings, page after page, piece after piece of my giant puzzle. I find my glass and Julia glances over. Fingers trembling, I hold up one of my paintings. It's brown and green, a corner piece. Julia smiles. I display another picture and then another and another and another, each one a tiny part of a whole. Julia looks confused. But what is it? She asks. She shrugs. It doesn't matter. It's pretty just as it is. Uh-oh, says Thelma. No, 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 I think. No, it does matter. George calls out to Julia. He's done for the night. Grab your backpack, he says, and hurry. It's late. Gotta go, Ivan, Julia says. Julia doesn't understand. I have to find the right pieces. I dig through the pile. They're here somewhere. I know they are. I find one, then another, and I tried to hold up the 4 of them up against the glass. Bob, I say, help me, hurry. Bob grabs paintings with his teeth and drags them to me. One by one, I shove pictures through the window crack. They're crumpled and tear. There are too many pieces. My puzzle is too big. Careful, Ivan, Julia says. Those might be worth millions someday. You never know. She arranges the paintings into a neat stack. I suppose Mac's going to want to sell these in the gift shop. She still doesn't understand. I shove more out the hole and more, all of them, one after another. So Ivan's been painting, has he? George says as he puts on his coat. A lot, says Julie with a laugh. A whole lot. You're not taking all those home with you, are you? George asks. I mean, no offense, Ivan, but they're just blobs. Julie thumbs through the towering stack of paintings. They might not be bobs to Ivan. Let's leave those by the office, George suggests. Mac will want to try selling them, although why anyone would pay $40 for a finger painting a 2-year-old could do, I don't know. I like Ivan's work, Julia says. He puts his feelings into them. He puts his hair into them, George says. Julia waves goodbye. Night, Ivan. Night, Bob. I press my nose against the glass and watch her walk away. All of my work, all of my planning, wasted. I look at Ruby, sleeping soundly, and suddenly I know she'll never leave the Big Top Mall. She'll be here forever, just like Stella. I can't let Ruby be another one and only. All right, so we're going to pause right there. I know we did not get to answer the questions for today. We will continue on tomorrow with the one and only Ivan, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.